Everyone noticed I wasn't chasing Ethan anymore, including Ethan himself. After school, he blocked my path, his face a cold mask. About standing you up the other day. I'm only explaining this once. Believe it or not. It's up to you. Sophia was cornered by some drunk. I went to help her. I was wrong not to call you. I forgot that day was his birthday. He was in a fight for Sophia, while I was left stranded at the amusement park for the entire day.
So, he thought I was just sulking about that.
I gave a slight shake of my head. It's okay. Then, under his shadowed, unreadable gaze, I quietly stepped around him and walked away. I didn't know that because he'd abandoned me yet again. The system had declared my mission a failure. In 1 month, I would be erased and sent back to my own world. And this body would be reclaimed by its original owner. Avery, let's go home. The system's voice sighed in my mind, as an amusement park attendant reminded me for the third time that they were closing. Ethan's not coming. He's with Sophia. He's completely forgotten.
He was supposed to meet you here today. My feet ached.
I stomped them lightly on the pavement, picked up the cake box, and turned toward the exit. Okay. The hopeful anticipation I'd felt that morning had been worn down to nothing. All that was left was a hollow calm. Even when the system announced my failure, in 1 month, you will be in a fatal car accident. This is the penalty for your failure. During the moment of impact, I will extract your consciousness and return you to your world. As for this body, its original owner will regain control. After delivering the notice, the system vanished. I pulled out my phone to call a ride, only to see the battery icon flash red before the screen went black. I didn't have any cash for a cab. Finally accepting my fate, I started the long walk home along the edge of the road. Failure had always been a possibility.
I knew that in this moment.
A profound exhaustion seeped into my bones, making every step feel impossibly heavy. The route from the amusement park back to my house passed by our school. On a Saturday, the campus should have been deserted. But tonight, on a bench just outside the school gates, sat 2 figures I knew all too well. Sophia was holding a small cupcake, with a single matchstick stuck in it, flickering like a tiny, pathetic candle. I'm so sorry, Ethan, she said, her voice soft. I only just found out it was your birthday. I didn't have time to get a proper cake. This was all I could find. I hope you don't mind. The boy across from her had a few fresh cuts on his cheekbone, a bandage wrapped around his forehead, half hidden by his dark, messy hair. It gave him a kind of reckless, boyish charm. He didn't seem to find the makeshift birthday cupcake ridiculous at all. He even took out his lighter and lit the match for her. I don't. His voice, usually so cool and distant, held a gentle, coaxing note I'd never heard before. I think it's great. I couldn't help but remember the previous afternoon. I was in the school's home EC room, presenting him with the birthday cake I'd perfected. After countless attempts. Isn't it beautiful? He was leaning against the door frame, arms crossed. His eyes flickered to my hand, where a fresh blister from the oven was already forming. His tone was sharp with impatience. Just looking at your hand is enough to make me lose my appetite. Embarrassed, I tried to hide my hand in the sleeve of my uniform. His expression was weary. He walked over, grabbed my wrist, and started dragging me towards the pharmacy down the street. What are you hiding? He snapped. You get a burn, and you don't even think to put something on it? Do you have a brain? He sounded annoyed, but his touch was surprisingly gentle. As he carefully applied the ointment, my courage returned. I had to ask again. Ethan, do you like the cake? He stared at the blister on my hand, his brow furrowed. It's ugly as sin. Back then, the system had tried to comfort me. Don't listen to him. He's just mad. You hurt yourself making it. He's just bad at showing he cares. That's all. My thoughts snapped back to the present. I stood across the street, a silent observer, watching Ethan soothe Sophia, assuring her that her simple cupcake was more than enough. And I finally understood. Even for someone as guarded and difficult as Ethan, when he truly liked someone, he could be gentle. He would pull in all his thorns. He would protect her pride and couldn't bear to see her disappointed. I didn't know what Ethan felt for me, but it definitely wasn't love. I pulled my gaze away, ready to leave, but then Sophia spotted me. Chloe, what are you doing here? Ethan turned, his eyes landing on the cake box in my hand. He froze for a split second, and I saw the flicker of realization in his eyes. He remembered Sophia saw the box too. Oh, you must be looking for Ethan, right? She said a little too brightly. I heard you were supposed to celebrate his birthday at the park today. I'm so sorry you got stood up because of me. Her apology was a thin veil, a performance she perfected over time. It was as if she was used to Ethan, dropping everything and everyone for her, especially me. And I was just supposed to take it, maybe throw a little tantrum for a day or two, then go right back to chasing him like a lost puppy. I shook my head. denying her first question.
I was just passing by.
Ethan's jaw was tight, his gaze fixed on me. Sophia just smiled, clearly thinking my words were a pathetic attempt to save face. She gestured towards the box. Well, since you brought the cake anyway, we can celebrate now. It's not too late. As she reached for the box, I stepped back, shaking my head again. It's gone bad. You can't eat it. I pressed my lips together, my voice quiet. It's getting late. I should go home.
Bye.
Sophia looked genuinely surprised. In the past, I would have used any excuse to stick to Ethan's side. Now I was willingly giving them their space. I took a few steps, clutching the ruined cake. Then remembered something. I turned back, my cheeks flushing with embarrassment as I looked at Sophia. Excuse me, but could I borrow $20? My phone's dead, and I can't call a cab. I'll take you. The word shot out of Ethan's mouth the second I finished my sentence. Fast and tight, with some unreadable tension. I acted as if I hadn't heard him. Sophia stammered, yeah, sure. She fumbled in her purse and handed me a bill. Thanks. I'll pay you back at school on Monday. I took the money and left. The entire time, I never once looked at Ethan. Maybe it was because I knew I was going home soon. That night, I dreamed of my life in the real world. I was in the college library during a break between classes, crying my eyes out over a novel. My roommate looked over confused. Isn't that supposed to be a rom-com? I sobbed, my words catching in my throat. Not for him. Not for Ethan, the second male lead. His life is just so tragic. He's been in love with the main character, Sophia, since high school, but he came from nothing, so he was too proud and insecure to ever tell her. He becomes this huge business mogul by the end, but he never confesses. He just watches over her from a distance. And the worst part, in high school, he was constantly bullied by the story's vicious, spoiled, rich girl, Chloe. My roommate handed me a tissue. Your name is Avery, and her name is Chloe. Kinda close. I slammed my hand on the table, and I am deeply ashamed of that fact. That very night, I woke up inside the book in the body of the character I despised most. The system's directive was simple: win over Ethan. That year, I was the person he hated most in the world. Mission difficulty.
S.
The system scanned my ecstatic expression. The difficulty is off the charts. And you're this happy? Because I can change his story. I can fix his miserable youth. I bounced on my toes, my bangs flying. I'm going to give him all the best things in the world. I won't let him suffer. For one more second, the system had no faith in my mission. It said it would just wait for the clock to run out and send me back. I spent 2 years trying to melt Ethan's icy exterior. Eventually, his affection meter climbed so high that even the system thought victory was within reach. But in the end, I still failed. And really, I had no right to blame him. He was always in love with Sophia. It was only natural that he would do anything for her, that he would put her first, always. It's a simple truth I only managed to grasp now, that I was no longer in love with him myself. After spending the entire previous day out in the wind, it was no surprise when I woke up with a cold. I'd just taken some medicine when my phone rang. It was one of Ethan's friends. Hey, Chloe. Ethan's doing a do-over for his birthday today at the amusement park.
The one you guys were supposed to go to?
You coming? Ethan never cared about things like birthdays. I knew what this was, an attempt to make up for what happened. My voice was thick with congestion when I spoke. You guys have fun. I'm heading to the library today. I heard the guy's voice get farther from the receiver.
Yo, Ethan.
Chloe says she's not coming. Few seconds passed, then I heard a short, sharp laugh laced with mockery. Her loss. His reaction wasn't a surprise. Ethan had never been patient with me. This half-assed birthday party was the most he was willing to bend. I couldn't stop a few coughs from escaping. The guy on the phone noticed. Whoa, Chloe.
You sick? Okay.
Okay, never mind. Then you just rest up. Right before he hung up, I heard him ask someone else. Hey, where'd Ethan go? Another voice replied. Looked like he was heading to the pharmacy. Pharmacy? Why didn't he just get his cuts looked at?
It's me.
I went to the library with Noah. Noah, the original Chloe's childhood best friend. He was also the only person in this world who knew I wasn't who I seemed. Not long after I arrived, he saw right through my act. He cornered me, studying my face with a smirk. Don't even try to lie. You can't fool me. No one knows Chloe better than I do. After I confessed everything about the mission, he was only surprised for a moment before accepting it. Maybe it was because I was wearing his best friend's face. For the past 2 years, he'd been incredibly good to me. He was one of my most important friends in this world. On the way to the library, I told him about my failed mission. So, you're saying you're leaving in a month?
Yep.
The real Chloe is coming back. You'll be reunited with your childhood sweetheart. The canvas messenger bag, slung over Noah's shoulder, swayed, with his steps tapping rhythmically against his back. He just smiled, not responding, his eyes holding a flat, unreadable emotion. Ethan did go to the pharmacy. He bought the burn ointment, the expensive kind with the numbing agent, and a box of throat lozenges. He ran all the way to my house, his breath creating white clouds in the biting autumn air. He pounded on the door for 10 minutes. No one answered. From the window of the library, 3 blocks away, I watched the gray sky turn to slate. Noah sat across from me, flipping through a history textbook, though his eyes hadn't moved from the same page in 20 minutes. "He's texting you," Noah said, glancing at my phone, which was vibrating silently against the wooden table. "I know. He's called 6 times. I know." Noah finally looked up. His eyes, usually warm and teasing, were dark with a suppressed intensity. "You have 29 days, Avery. Do you really want to spend them hiding?" "I'm not hiding," I said, tracing the grain of the wood with my finger.
I'm the Texan.
I spent 2 years addicted to a person who looked at me like I was a stain on a shirt. Now I'm just tired. When we finally left the library, the streetlights were humming to life. Noah insisted on walking me to my door. As we approached the gate, a shadow detached itself from the brick wall. Ethan. He looked unkempt. The bandage on his forehead was peeling at the edges, and he was still wearing his windbreaker, though the temperature had dropped near freezing. When he saw me, the relief in his eyes was instantly strangled by a flare of anger. "Where have you been?" He didn't shout, but his voice was rough, scraping against the quiet of the street. "I went to your house. I brought." He held up the pharmacy bag, then lowered it, feeling foolish. "I was studying," I said simply. I didn't ask about his cuts. I didn't ask about Sophia. Ethan's gaze flicked to Noah, his jaw tightening. "With him?" "Yeah," Noah answered, stepping slightly in front of me. "Is there a law against it?" Ethan ignored him, his eyes boring into mine. "You're sick. You shouldn't be out in the cold. Open the door, I'm coming in." In the past, my heart would have hammered against my ribs. Ethan wants to come in. Ethan is worried. Now I just felt the weight of the fatigue in my legs. "No," I said. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush bone. Ethan recoiled as if I'd slapped him. "What?"
I'm tired, Ethan.
"I just want to sleep. You should go home. Sophia might need help with her homework." "Stop bringing her up," he snapped, stepping closer. "This isn't about her. This is about you acting like a ghost for 2 days because I missed one stupid appointment. I bought the medicine. I'm here now. What else do you want? What else do you want?" The question hung in the air, ridiculous and tragic. I looked at this boy. The sharp jawline I used to trace in my sketchbooks, the dark eyes I'd drowned in. I realized with a start that I didn't want anything. The void where my longing used to be was vast and peaceful. "I don't want anything, Ethan," I whispered. "That's the point. I don't want anything from you anymore." I bypassed him, unlocked the gate, and slipped inside. When I glanced back before closing the door, he was still standing there, the white pharmacy bag crinkled in his fist, looking less like the hero of a romance novel and more like a child who had lost his mother in a crowd. School became a strange purgatory. I stopped bringing Ethan lunch. I stopped intercepting the bullies who targeted him. Not that he needed help anymore. He was growing into his future tycoon ruthlessness early. I sat with Noah, laughed at his dry jokes, and stared out the window at the dying leaves. The rumor mill churned. Chloe finally got bored. Chloe found a new toy. Ethan didn't take it well. It started small. He would accidentally bump into my desk. He would linger near my locker. When that didn't work, he escalated. 1 week into the countdown, during lunch, he slammed a tray down on my table. The cafeteria went silent. Sophia was standing a few feet away, looking anxious and holding a carton of milk. "Eat," Ethan commanded. He had bought my favorites, spicy tuna rolls and strawberry milk. I didn't look up from my book. "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten properly in days," he accused. "You're losing weight." "I'm on a diet." "Bullshit." He grabbed my wrist, the same wrist he had applied ointment to. His grip was tight, desperate.
Talk to me. Scream at me.
"Do something." I slowly peeled his fingers off my arm, one by one. His skin was burning hot. "Ethan, people are watching." "I don't care." His voice cracked. "Why are you doing this? Is this some game? You want me to beg?" "Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I missed the amusement park. I'm sorry I called your cake ugly. I'm sorry I'm an asshole. Now come back. Come back. Not I like you. Not I miss you. Just come back to where you belong. In my shadow." "I can't," I said softly. "Why?" "Because," I looked him in the eye, "I'm running out of time." He froze. "What does that mean?" I stood up, gathering my things. "It means I have things to do, and chasing you isn't on the list anymore." I walked away. As I left the cafeteria, I heard the crash of a tray hitting the floor and Sophia's startled cry, but I didn't turn around. Later that afternoon, Noah found me on the rooftop. He didn't say a word, just handed me one of his earbuds. We sat in silence, listening to obscure indie rock, watching the clouds drift. "He's falling in love with you," Noah said suddenly. "He's not," I replied, eyes closed. "He's just not used to the dog off the leash."
No, Averi.
I know how men look at women they're afraid to lose. He's terrified. He doesn't know it's love yet, he thinks it's annoyance or habit. But he's drowning. "It doesn't matter," I said. "Whatever he feels, it's 2 years too late." "And you?" Noah asked. "Do you still love him?" I thought about it. The pain was gone. The desperation was gone. All that remained was a dull ache for the time I'd wasted.
No.
I think I just feel sorry for him. He's going to achieve everything he ever wanted, but he'll never be happy. Noah turned to me. The wind caught his hair, pushing it back from his forehead. He looked older than 17. "I wish I had met you first," he said. "Before the system. Before the plot." My heart gave a painful squeeze.
Noah.
"I know. You're leaving. But for the record, if this was a different story, I would have made sure you never had to chase anyone." With 10 days left, the system gave me a warning. "Host, your vital signs are weakening. The body is preparing for the extraction. You may experience dizziness, hallucinations, and numbness." I felt it. My hands were always cold. Colors seemed less vibrant. Ethan was unraveling. He had stopped hanging out with Sophia. He spent his time stalking me, his eyes rimmed with red. He looked like the tragic hero I had read about, but I wasn't the audience anymore. It came to a head on a rainy Tuesday. I had stayed late to clean the classroom. One last duty before I left. When I finished, the school was empty. I walked out to the lockers, and he was there, leaning against the metal bank, soaking wet. He had waited outside in the rain, and then come in. "Ethan?" He looked up. He looked wrecked. "I broke up with Sophia." I paused, clutching my bag. "You weren't dating." "I told her I can't be around her anymore. Because every time I look at her, I feel guilty. And every time I look at you, I feel like I'm dying." He stepped closer, dripping water onto the linoleum. "You said you're running out of time. Are you dying? Is that it? Are you sick?" "In a way," I said. He grabbed my shoulders, shaking me slightly. "Then tell me. I have money now, I made some investments, I can pay for doctors. I can." "You can't fix this, Ethan." "I can fix anything," he roared, the sound echoing in the empty hall. Then his voice broke, dropping to a whisper. "I can fix us. I know I messed up. I know I took you for granted. I thought you would always be there. I thought you were invincible." He leaned his forehead against mine. He was freezing, but his breath was hot. "I think I love you, Chloe. I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you bandaged my hand. Maybe when you stood up to those guys for me. Maybe just now, when I realized I might never see you smile at me again." I stood there, listening to the words I had killed myself to hear for 2 years. Mission accomplished, the system would have said.
Affektionmeter, 100%.
But I felt nothing. "Ethan," I said gently, pulling back. He looked at me, hope fragile in his eyes. "That's not my name." He blinked. "What?" "My name isn't Chloe." I smiled, a sad, small thing. "And the girl you fell in love with? The one who baked you cakes and bandaged your hands?"
She's already gone.
"You're talking to a memory." "Stop it," he whispered. "You're scaring me." "Goodbye, Ethan." I walked past him.
He didn't follow.
I think, deep down, he knew. He knew that the distance between us wasn't something physical he could cross. It was a universe. 3 days left. I spent them with Noah. We skipped school. We went to the aquarium. We went to the cinema and threw popcorn at the screen. We went to the beach and watched the gray waves crash against the sand. We didn't talk about the end. We just lived. On the last day, Noah took me to the park where it all started, the place where Ethan had stood me up. We sat on a bench, eating ice cream despite the cold. "Are you scared?" Noah asked. "A little," I admitted. "The system says it will be instantaneous. But I'm worried about what I leave behind." "Don't worry about me," Noah said, though his knuckles were white where he gripped the bench. "I'm tough." "And the real Chloe? She's a bitch." Noah laughed without humor. "But she's my childhood friend. I'll make sure she doesn't get herself killed again. Or, wait, the accident." "Yeah," I said softly. "The penalty. The body has to die." Noah went rigid. He turned to me, horror dawning on his face. "You mean today?" "Today is the accident. Tonight. At the intersection by the library. 7 p.m. "We can change it," Noah said, standing up. "We don't go there. We stay here. It's a fatal error penalty, Noah. If it's not a car, it'll be a heart attack. It'll be a falling brick. The system doesn't miss. I took his hand.
Please. Stay with me until the end.
I don't want to be alone. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face, silent and devastating. He sat back down and pulled me into his arms. He held me so tight I could barely breathe, anchoring me to the earth. I love you, Avery, he whispered into my hair. Not Chloe. You. I love your soul. I love your voice. I love the way you read books. I know, I sobbed, finally letting go of the calm mask. I know. I love you too. 6:45 p.m. We were walking toward the library. I had insisted. I wanted to meet it head-on. The street was busy. Headlights blurred in the twilight. I saw him then.
Ethan.
He was running toward us from the other side of the intersection. He must have tracked my phone, or maybe he just knew. He looked wild, frantic. Chloe, he screamed. Don't cross. Stay there. The light turned green for us. It's time, the system whispered in my head. Goodbye, host. I stepped off the curb.
No.
Ethan lunged. At that moment, a truck swerved, its brakes screeching like a banshee. It wasn't aiming for me. It was skidding on black ice, spiraling out of control. It was heading straight for Noah. My body moved before my mind did. The instinct of the heroine I had tried so hard to be, or maybe just pure, unadulterated love. I shoved Noah backward, hard. He stumbled, falling onto the sidewalk. The headlights consumed my vision. I heard Ethan scream my name, not Chloe, but the name I had given him in the rain. Avery. And then there was only light. The library was quiet. The smell of old paper and dust filled my nose. I gasped, my head jerking up from the wooden table. Hey, you okay? You were having a nightmare. I blinked, disoriented. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. My roommate, Sarah, was looking at me with concern, a tissue in her hand. I touched my face. It was wet with tears. I'm back. Back from where? Napland. Sarah laughed. You've been out for an hour. You were mumbling something about a cake. I looked down at my hands.
No blisters. No scars.
I pulled out my phone. The battery was full. The date was right. It was over. A profound grief washed over me, so heavy I almost doubled over. It was real. I knew it was real. The smell of the rain, the cold of the ice cream, the warmth of Noah's arms. I need some air, I choked out. I ran out of the library, into the cool autumn air of the university campus. I sat on a bench and wept. I mourned for a boy who had learned to love too late, and for a boy who had loved me just right, but in a world that didn't exist. Months passed. I went through the motions. Classes, exams, parties. I wrote a story about a girl who transmigrated, but I couldn't write the ending. It hurt too much. One rainy afternoon, I was sheltering under the awning of a coffee shop, watching the water hit the pavement. Excuse me, a voice said. You dropped this. I turned. A young man was holding my sketchbook. He was tall, wearing a canvas messenger bag, his hair damp from the rain. He had a kind, boyish face and eyes that held a flat, unreadable emotion that suddenly sparked into warmth. It wasn't Ethan. Ethan was sharp angles and intensity. This boy was soft edges and comfort. He looked at the sketch on the open page, a drawing of a boy with a bandage on his forehead and a girl holding a cupcake. That's a sad drawing, he said. His voice, it was different, but the cadence was identical. The rhythm of his speech, the tilt of his head. My heart stopped, then restarted with a thunderous beat. It's from a dream I had, I managed to say. He smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through the gray clouds of my memory. He extended a hand. I'm Noah, he said. I just transferred here. I stared at his hand. The universe spun.
I'm Avery, he whispered.
He didn't pull his hand away. He stepped closer, the rain falling around us, blurring the rest of the world until it was just the two of us. I know, he said softly, his eyes searching mine with an intensity that transcended worlds. I've been looking for you. It took a while to find the right frequency, but the system owes me a favor. I dropped the sketchbook. I didn't care. I threw my arms around him, burying my face in his damp coat. He smelled like rain and old books and home. You're late, I sobbed. I had to wait for the story to end, he murmured, holding me tight. Now we can start ours. Somewhere, in a closed book on a dusty shelf, the funeral was lavish. The heir to the conglomerate, Ethan, spared no expense. He stood by the grave long after everyone else had left. The stone read Chloe, but in his mind, he engraved a different name. He was the master of the city now. He had the money, the power, the fear of his enemies. Sophia had tried to comfort him, but he had looked at her with such cold emptiness that she had fled the city a week later. I fixed it, he whispered to the cold stone. I bought the amusement park. It's yours now. I fired the staff who closed the gates on you. I bought the bakery. I bought it all. The wind whistled through the graveyard. Why won't you answer me? He fell to his knees, the mud staining his expensive suit. The great tycoon, the male lead, the man who had everything. He pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. It was a list he had found in her desk. Things to do before I leave.
1.
Bake a perfect cake. 2. See the ocean. 3. Save Ethan from himself. He traced the last line with a trembling finger. You failed, he choked out, a single tear cutting through the grime on his face. You didn't save me. You destroyed me. He stayed there until the sun went down, a king in a kingdom of ash, eternally waiting for a ghost that had already found her happy ending in another world.